Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Microsoft's Corporate Vice President, Jeff Teper.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to Ignite. The team and I are so fired up with what we've got to share this afternoon, as well as through the event. You know, the event committee sort of has figured us out at this point. They know we bring our A game to Ignite with the most news, the most blogs. So they deliberately gave us the 4 o'clock session, so they knew there wouldn't be a session afterwards, so that we can demo until dawn. So I hope everybody's bought their sleeping bags, and let's go. All right. First thing I wanted to talk about was the amazing team we've got and how thrilled and humbled they are to meet with all of you this week. It's been the biggest year in the history of SharePoint, however you measure it, new organizations, intensity of usage, storage features, etc. So it's only appropriate that we brought the biggest team we've ever brought to an event in the history of SharePoint. Over 100 members of our team, not just program managers and product managers, but developers, designers, all here thrilled to hear what you're doing with the technologies and get your feedback about where we should go next. This is the 6 people from our team that are going to join us to do some demos in a little bit, and they're furiously backstage rehearsing. You should see them pacing around. Don't forget my lines, don't forget my lines. So they'll be up in a second. We're excited to have them come up. But as people know, we often start by thanking the community, and special thanks to our customers and partners around the world. We don't just celebrate events, big events like Ignite and the SharePoint conference. We have regional events around the world. In November is the European SharePoint conference that I and several members of our team will be at. But probably my favorite thing that represents our community together is the free Global SharePoint Saturday events. This past weekend, our amazing SharePoint community in Latin America hosted SharePoint Saturday Lima in Lima, Peru. Over the next month in October, there'll be 12 SharePoint Saturday events. And one barometer of the health and growth of SharePoint is on this slide here. These are all the cities that had their SharePoint Saturday for the very first time. So to the people who organize and present at these free events, thank you very much. If you haven't gone to one, go to one in your area. If there's not one, go create one. All right. Let's talk about the big moments that we do over the course of the year. As people have sort of seen, the industry is moving faster than ever. Microsoft's moving faster than ever. And it can be a bit overwhelming. So we like to take a step back twice a year in the spring and fall and share the roadmap, just so people know where we're going. And so the spring moment, we do a webcast in May. This year, we did it in Las Vegas at the return of the SharePoint conference. Hundreds of sessions there. We're bringing it back, May 2019. Put it on your calendar. The SharePoint conference is back again in Las Vegas. And then, of course, we participate in Ignite, which is our big Microsoft-wide event where we do here, and you'll see, if you're not checking your phones, at the end of the session, we'll have a blog post with all sorts of news. And Ignite's special for us because, on the one hand, we come together with all our colleagues across Microsoft to share and learn from you. On the other hand, we're a pretty competitive group. In the last 3 years in a row, #SharePoint has won the little internal competition we have of the most tweeted about product in Microsoft Ignite. So, just saying, if you see something you like this week, don't be shy, #SharePoint. All right, shameless. My colleagues don't let me hear the end of it. Anyway, one of the big things we like to do at these events is not just talk about our technologies, but more importantly, the business value customers are getting from our latest products. Things like Teams, OneDrive Files on Demand, the communication sites in SharePoint, Power Apps and Flow. And we're really excited to have more customers than ever at this event walking through how they use the Microsoft 365 technologies. We've got Lego here, who's got an amazing Power App solution, as well as tons of OneDrive integration. You'll see them in a couple of the sessions. In a few minutes, David Kaganovsky, the CTO of WaveMaker, is going to join me on stage, and we'll talk about their adoption and the lessons they've got for all of us. So very excited and grateful for the customers who are presenting at Ignite with us. So let's dive in, just to put things again in perspective in SharePoint's role in Microsoft's ecosystem. As Satya talked about this morning, more and more critical to the success of every organization is digital transformation with a modern workplace. You've got to attract the best employees, engage them, help them be responsive, help them generate new ideas, get motivated, get connected with your constituencies. And foundational for all this is a powerful and simple content collaboration solution that's flexible enough to meet a range of business needs. And so that's sort of our mantra for the history of SharePoint, to deliver a flexible solution that's both simple out of the box, but powerful enough to address a broad range of scenarios. Everywhere from very intuitive anywhere access to all your files in OneDrive, to more and more collaboration inside and around documents, including the Office applications, and you'll see a bunch of news there, to a comprehensive teamwork solution that includes conversations and content and how we plug into Outlook, and increasingly Microsoft Teams. We'll have some stuff to show there. Great engaging intranets with not just published pages and applications, but conversations powered by Yammer and streaming video powered by Microsoft Stream. And lastly, business solutions that you can build rapidly and adapt to meet your changing needs with the increasing integration we've done with Power Apps and Flow. So that's the spectrum of scenarios that SharePoint supports. And we do it on a common foundation of Microsoft Cloud technologies, a common security approach for managing users and content and governing information in the service, to a common search and AI foundation. One of the most exciting things we announced earlier today, you saw I published a blog post on what we're calling Microsoft Search, which is bringing together Graph and Bing technologies, empowering a consistent set of experiences across Microsoft products. And lastly, extensibility. We're striving in SharePoint to deliver a simple solution that works just out of box in a matter of minutes, but we also know it needs to be powerful enough to be customized, to be extended to meet a broad range of business needs and integrate with a host of third-party systems. So a couple years ago, we introduced a updated programming model for extending SharePoint, and we really spent a lot of time working across Microsoft and looking at the trends for developers and the rest of the industry. And so we kept this super simple, accessing data through the Microsoft Graph API, aligned across the company, REST interface, common pattern for that, and for extending and customizing the new SharePoint UI using the new JavaScript framework we have called the SharePoint Framework. And the response to this has been incredible. Since the launch of SharePoint Framework not too long ago, we've seen an 11-fold growth in what we count as the user app pairs of solutions built on SharePoint. It is by far the largest ecosystem for extending Office 365, which is pretty remarkable for us because we knew there was a lot of on-prem solutions that were migrating to the cloud. To birth a new developer ecosystem in the last 18 months has been very gratifying. And we've responded to feedback, and we've done 8 updates to the SharePoint framework since the GA, and there's a lot more coming, as you'll see this week. So that's the foundational part of what we're doing with SharePoint. We're now going to break into the news and demos. And what we've done is organize this into 3 core sets of scenarios. First, engaging your employees with great intranets. Second, building flexible teamwork solutions. And third, empowering people to work with files in a rich collaborative way. And in each of those, we'll show a user experience and some admin experiences. So let's focus on the first scenario of employee engagement. Hopefully you'll see in a few minutes, now is the time to modernize your intranet with the new SharePoint experience in Microsoft 365. to empower your employees, to engage them, to integrate applications on both the web and in mobile devices. So I'm very excited to kick off the first set of demos for this talk this afternoon. And please join me in welcoming Adam Harmitz and Dan Holm to the stage. Adam and Dan. Yes.
The first step to engage employees is to communicate openly. And SharePoint News lets you transform employee communications to keep everyone informed and up to date. Let's see just how easy it is to create and publish news to the right audiences across the organization and across devices, and let's check out some of the innovations coming to SharePoint News soon. This is a site for company news. It's built as a SharePoint communication site with out-of-box features. I'm going to create a new news post, and when I do, I can now pick from custom page designs. Pretty cool, huh? Those page designs are created by my organization, and they act as a kind of template, accelerating my creativity and facilitating consistency and branding. Now, I can change the default image that came with the design, and of course, I could upload an image or search the web, but now I can also find approved images managed by my organization in central libraries. How about that? So I'm going to go ahead and find just the right image here. Let's switch into Tiles View, and I think I want to take this one. And in just a few clicks, I can create a compelling dynamic news article with rich media, including data, video from Microsoft Stream, and I can then organize my posts with custom metadata. So for example, I can choose to specify that this article is featured, for example. And today, we're announcing modern audience targeting that lets you target articles to the right groups using Azure Active Directory groups, including dynamic groups based on user profile properties. How about that? Woo-hoo. So I'll go ahead and pick the product launch event as my group there, and publish away. Now, wherever we want news to appear, the news web part will show the right articles filtered by that metadata and audience targeting. And the news feed from my teams and from across the organization comes together as a single experience for me that I can view in SharePoint Home or on SharePoint Mobile that Adam will show you in just a moment. The news feed is personalized for me by AI, recommending news based on my audiences, my groups, my affiliations, and my work patterns. Let me refresh this page here. And let me switch tabs. Now you'll notice that some of the news on SharePoint Home looks different. That's because today we're announcing organizational news. You can designate any site in your organization as a source for organizational news, and posts from that site, such as this post on the right, are then badged to focus people's attention on the news that matters. Let's see how that shows up on mobile. Adam?
Great. So here I am on an Android device, where you can see, if I look at my notifications, I can see news from Contoso published right to me, right where my users are. However, if I want to see all my news, I can just go into the SharePoint mobile app, click on the News tab, and that same intelligent feed Dan was talking about is available right here. And of course, if I click on any of these items, you can see a beautiful responsive layout of that page, so I can view this on my phone. And I can even interact with it. I could like the particular post, or I could @mention somebody in comments. But one more feature of SharePoint News I want to show that we're really excited, that's hot off the press, is what we call news linking. So if you're anything like me, you're often on the bus or somewhere, and you find a particular site or page on the internet that you want to share with your team. Well, right now we've integrated with the share sheet on both iOS and Android, so you could share this particular post really quickly, add a little bit of context, it automatically pulls in a beautiful image from the page, and I could share it, for instance, to a particular site. And just like that, I've shared a particular news post with my team. How many people think they would be able to use that? Cool. It's a bit of a culture change, I get. But if you really lean into news, you can take both news from the internet, news from your team, and news from your organization, and bring it all together. Because organizational news allows you to get the right information to the right people at the right time. And it helps you transform your employee communications. Now, for the rest of this demo, for a little bit, Dan's going to show you more work on communication sites from the desktop, and I'm going to follow along on my mobile device so you can see what comm sites look like on the desktop and mobile at exactly the same time. Dan, why don't you go ahead?
Awesome. SharePoint communication sites let anyone share vision, knowledge, services, and resources across the organization. Let's start by considering sharing vision. At the best-run organizations, leaders connect with employees and engage to inspire and guide and align people towards common purpose. Here is a site where company leadership can communicate and engage at scale. I can see what's top of mind for our leadership. They can share important resources and perspectives in posts using the exact same SharePoint news features we saw earlier. And to foster sustained engagement between leaders and employees, anyone can come here to express concerns and ask questions of leadership. Further down, we have the recording of last month's company meeting. Events allow leaders to engage directly with employees, and now you can create live and on-demand events in your organization. Live event capabilities in Microsoft 365 are available to you today in preview and will be rolling out to general worldwide availability later this year. Now, video is a compelling way to communicate in the digital workplace. We're seeing rapid adoption of Microsoft Stream, which is our intelligent video service, and we're pleased to announce today that the new Stream mobile app for iOS and Android will be available in October. Yes. The Stream mobile app, which Adam will show you here, allows you to discover and view video from across your organization, and it features offline viewing, so you can catch up on your own time even when you're disconnected or don't want to chew up your video plan, your data plan. Videos are encrypted on your phone, and thanks to Intune integration, administrators can manage content should your device be lost or stolen. In breakout sessions later this week, I encourage you to learn more about Stream, live events, and leadership engagement in Microsoft 365. Now let's turn our attention to sharing knowledge. Nothing is as transformative as connecting people across the organization to engage directly and share knowledge openly. On this site, we have a SharePoint communication site powering a community where our retail employees can share best practices, find resources, and get questions answered. You'll see it's a great mix of both curated and spontaneous content. I can identify experts to reach out to on the right. I have a personalized and intelligent set of recommended resources based on my role and my profile. And I can connect with peers and experts directly in open conversation using the new Yammer Conversations web part. This new web part, which we also saw on the leadership site a moment ago, will be shipping early next year, and it allows you to bring to any SharePoint site a rich, interactive feed from a Yammer group, topic, or user. One of the resources we're sharing on this site is a page about a new product. And here we can see, for example, information about the product, experts who know stuff about the product, and we filtered our massive library of resources down to just the content about this product. I can even select a document and see a preview without having to leave the page. These kinds of examples illustrate the power of the intranet to bring together people, content, and conversation to share knowledge. Adam, do you want to show the next example?
Sure. So what do you guys think about sharing knowledge and sharing vision with SharePoint communication sites? Awesome. So we've seen that. Now I want to show you how you can share resources and services to the rest of your organization. So here we have Work at Contoso, which is a very typical human resources portal. You can see I have news, I have events, I can embed PowerPoints, I even have links to various handbooks, tools, career sites, and right here I have an embedded Power App where I could request time off directly from within the portal without ever leaving it. So that's really good and a classic example of a portal. What we really want to show with this site is the fact that Work at Contoso is a hub site. And hub sites allow you to organize your intranet together. So related sites, for instance, all the HR sites at Contoso can be bound together within this hub site. They share common navigation like you see up here, common branding and theming. Search is aware and contextual that this isn't a hub site. So right here, without even typing a query, it tells me associated sites to the hub, or finding files that are on this site or associated sites. And the news, and now announcing today, the events web part is also aware. So this is pulling in resources, not just from this site, but all the sites in the hub, really creating a central place for HR or other service line organizations within the corporation. There's one more thing I want to show. I've only seen this myself for the past couple weeks, and it's already transformed how I use SharePoint, which is, at least for sites that I own, which is updates to the site usage page. So as we've had for a while, you can go to the site usage page, and as you'd expect, you can see a bar chart of how often the site is used. But down here, what we've added is a beautiful piece of data. according to the days of the week and the time of the day, you can really drill in as to when people are using your site most frequently. So right here we can see Friday around 2 p.m. is when it's most useful. So this really transforms how you are able to use your site by being able to say, okay, that's about the time that I want to be able to post news to the site because I know most people are visiting it. So especially in communication sites, it's an incredibly important piece of it. Dan, do you want to talk a little more?
Yeah, sure. We've seen how easy it is for SharePoint sites to share vision, news, resources, knowledge across the organization. The modern intranet connects these activities. It connects us to what we need in the modern workplace. At the front door to that workplace, organizations strive to create a great landing page where news and resources and search and apps and conversations come together. Let's see some examples of some great intranet landing pages, what you might call portals or intranet homepages, built with SharePoint communication sites and some of the new innovations.
Great, so here's the first example of a communication site dedicated to be a landing page. It's a pretty traditional one. It leads with news, it has events. You can sort of see some of the other tools in your toolkit you can use to build, like a new countdown timer web part. Here we have section background colors, so something like the quick links web part can be highlighted with the section background. And also things like world clock or weather web parts, basically whatever you need to be able to express your brand and look and feel of the site. However, I know we're all sort of website geeks here, and there's one feature that I really want to point out on this site that I know people are excited about, because many have asked for this for a long while, and it's called mega menus. So if you look right here, this site, you can have the full directory of your intranet basically right from your website navigation, a key component we know you're going to need if you want to make it an intranet landing page. Now, we actually challenged our design team to design 3 different types of landing pages because we know that people have different needs. And so here's another example of Contoso landings, but this time it's more social and personalized. And of course, you can mix and match all these together. We still have news, which is personalized, but we have top communities here, which is maybe top Yammer communities people should engage in. And then we have a really cool set of web parts right here that allow you to start your day on your intranet landing page. It shows your team news, the frequent sites that you visit most often that you can get back to, recommended files trending around you, as well as documents that you currently work with. So just really a way where you can make your intranet homepage deeply personalized. Now, I think our design team had the most fun with this last example, which is really we asked them to show off the beauty of the web and use SharePoint to be able to do it. Yeah, it's awesome. What we have here is moving images, parallax scrolling, big, bold carousels, and then a bunch of great imagery that is exactly aligned thanks to the easy authoring canvas that aligns it automatically to a grid. Now, I scrolled by this pretty fast, but one thing you might have noticed is that we've started to embed mixed reality into this intranet. On the left, we have a screenshot that if you clicked would link to a SharePoint space, so you could explore your entire product catalog either in the web or in a headset. And on the right, we have a 3D image web part where I could start looking at a 3D object. Woo! These type of high gloss, low information density sites are a great place to start experimenting with mixed reality and internet.
So whether you're creating a news post, creating a site to share across your organization, building a hub for your department, you're creating digital employee experiences. We think that your organization's landing page, your intranet home or portal, is the most important digital experience you create. We believe that it needs to be dynamic, personalized, social, and actionable. We believe that it needs to express the priorities of your organization and its brand. And we believe with the innovations that we're introducing this week at Ignite, you can build it with SharePoint. We look forward to seeing with the digital employee experiences that you create. Thanks, everyone. Back to Jeff.
Dan. Adam did a quick tease of SharePoint Spaces. For those of you who haven't seen the announcement we did last May at the SharePoint conference, our big treat for everybody in bringing back that event was the very, very early reveal that we were bringing mixed reality and 3D into SharePoint. And we're still working away at that. For people who are attending the event, you can see it in person. We've got a dedicated session. You can try it out in the immersion zone. And we've published publicly a new site that you can see the URL up there, where we've shown some examples of the things that customers are thinking about doing with mixed reality and 3D in SharePoint. And we'll keep you posted along the journey as we make this more broadly available. So let me recap the big calls to action in terms of employee engagement. First and foremost, tell your story with SharePoint pages and news. The experience that we can create, the simplicity, the beauty, the performance on mobile, the new web parts that they go read the blog post. There's way too many that they didn't get a chance to talk to. And then tailoring that for team news and organizational news, we think is a pretty powerful way to inform employees across your organization. Second, now's the time to make communication sites. These, we're bringing all the power people need in terms of metadata and workflow and audience targeting to have the most demanding intranets built on the new SharePoint communication site experience. And last, make your intranet more engaging with Yammer and Stream. These are great standalone tools. We have Yammer and Stream mobile apps. You can go to those destinations. But woven together inside a tailored SharePoint experience, both on the web and on your phone, it gives you a chance to tell your story and help people navigate information in a more engaging way. And so, with all the work we're doing around the new UI and new web parts and so forth, we really wanted to have a URL that directed people to learning about how to build these engaging new intranets. And so this URL, which I won't read, but you can see and take pictures of, will be available today to learn more about building great intranets. All right, next up, we're going to talk about flexible teamwork solutions. This has really been the backbone of SharePoint, team sites, the most broadly adopted use case. And again, I think this is because team sites are simple. You could click and get one, but they're also powerful. No two teams are the same, and so the ability to customize and extend SharePoint allows us to give you a platform that you can adapt to the needs of different groups in your organization. And we're building on that with a lot of integration this week with Microsoft Teams, so you can bring together content and communications in a rich, tailored experience. So, let's not get ahead of ourselves. So with that, let me bring up the next demo who is going to show you not only the ability of Teams and SharePoint to work together for team sites out of the box, but some of the customization ability that we have for these teamwork solutions with power-ups and flow and the SharePoint framework. And so I'm very excited to bring up Naomi Moneypenny. Naomi.
Thanks so much, Jeff. And I'm so excited to see all of you here and to show you some of the amazing things that we're doing to really build collaborative experiences for your teams. So I've got a few things to show you here. We'll start off in a document list. So we're going to look at this library here, and we're going to check it out. And I can see that I've got some target columns here, and I actually want to prep for my team. So I'm going to move this owner column right over here, so it's really, really simple to understand, right, when that document is ready and who's the owner for it. So a very simple format change, but we're able to do it. Now, I'd like to make this even more productive for our team, so I can actually go ahead and do some formatting on here too. So in this customer ready column, I'd like to format it and check out, hey, you know, I like these colors, so maybe green and red right here. So, and apply that right there, which is awesome to be able to see. So very simple for me to be able to interact with that. So I'm happy with how this looks. I can go ahead and I can save this view and do that right here and say, yep, save documents. That means everybody gets it as the default when they see this experience. A couple of other things that I can add on top of this too. So I'm going to go ahead and click into a document. I'm going to add its information panel right here. And you'll see there's a few things that load up. So I can go straight to this target here, and I can put in the pilot store location. And obviously, it knows that we are in Orlando. So I'm going to go ahead and type in the Orlando Convention Center. And even though I'll make a mistake on here, which I inevitably do, but there it is, Orange County, I can actually click that right there, and it'll actually pull those information right there and save that. And it's actually populating that metadata across here. How cool is that? So it works out very well. So when I click through here, you'll actually hover over, and you'll see that I get the map of that location right in here too. So everything working great. So let me show you a couple of other things that I can do to help this be more productive. So I can go into Flow here and set a reminder around the target date. You may be noticing that things are changing in the background here. It's because my team is actually updating this. So as we're working, SharePoint is always keeping us up to date as much as possible. I can set a reminder here, for example, with Flow to get an email reminder, say, 7 days in advance, so that it's easy to remember when we have this target delivery date coming through. So all of that looks really good and makes it simple for me to work on. Now here's a few other things that I want to work on. So you might have thought about creating a page for your team. We've made it really simple over the last few years to really make SharePoint that place to create your own destination. But what could I do that could be even more than a page? Maybe I could actually write some code in here, or maybe I don't even have those coding skills. But I can go ahead and create a new page and actually start crafting a whole new application as part of it. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to create my page, I'm going to add an image on here. I'll be able to add in how I want this to look. So for example, I can create retail, so I'll put that in here to make it look pretty. So pretty is important. So I can put all those pieces there. I can add in this information, and I can put in the name of my page, and I can even copy and paste in some text from Word. So I'm going to copy this over here so you don't have to see all that painful typing that I do during the day. So I'm going to click here, click and add, and my web part. And I would add my web part. That would be really awesome. Thank you. There we go. So I'm going to add my web part. No, maybe not. Maybe I can add my web part. Never mind. I'll add some section columns instead. We'll do that. See if that works. Or maybe not. Wow. Oh, come on. Just want to show that. Simple things. Well, if it was working, this was a beautiful page I would have created. Okay. But the really cool thing that I want to show you here is that I have not just created a page. I have, in fact, with zero code, created a composite application. And when I create that application, you can see here that I added the document library web part. And over here, I added the file viewer web part. Now, usually with the file viewer web part, I have that horrible choice of I can only pick one file to view. And you're like, no, I want to show all of the files in the document library, and I want people to be able to pick their own. And so that's what you can do now. We have this amazing new function. It's called dynamic data, and it actually allows basically this web part over here to basically be the hero, and this one over here to be the sidekick. And together, they make that dynamic duo, and they can actually change that content on the fly. So I can see all of that content right inside of there. So I think that's pretty awesome. So I do that. So there's a whole range, of course, of applications that I can build with this. And so with folks that perhaps you're in the audience right now, you know yourselves. If you like building PowerShell scripts that other people use, if you like to build Excel macros, for example, now you'd like to take some of this list data and make it even more easy to understand. So even with just a few lines of code, I can go from something that looks like this, which is cool but not cool enough, but maybe I can go ahead and actually check out this kind of layout instead. This is something you can build, right? So being able to see this makes it very easy, makes it very readable, and you can see at a glance really what you can build inside of SharePoint. So all of that is all great stuff. I can take another couple of areas to talk about too. I can even go so far in looking at different composite applications and actually build in, for my professional coding skills, I can actually build in a couple of other areas too. So in this case, I have built a page here that shows me both a few web parts as well as this dynamic data over on the side. And so you can see here that I'm getting a custom web part. So we've built a custom web part for Contoso Electronics. And this is something you all as professional coders could be able to build yourselves. And then I can combine that with all of these other applications too. So I can create this data here. And as I click into these different areas, you'll see that both of those web parts are changing on the fly. So pretty cool, right? So one of the great things about this idea of composite apps and how we're taking that idea of anybody inside of the organization, whether you're an end user with a few click and drag skills, or whether you're an actual coder, or with someone who can actually build something in between. Now, we want to think about how we can use those different applications to the best effect. And here's a great example of a third-party company called Reich, who have a resource management application. The really cool thing is we're showing this here inside of SharePoint, but this company only has to build that code once, and I'm delighted to announce today that those full-page applications that we have inside of SharePoint will also appear inside of Teams. So you'll have them as a tab inside of Teams and a tab inside of SharePoint, and you only have to build that code once. Fantastic, right? So I can go one more step further here. And I'm going to check out the way that SharePoint and Teams are really coming closer together. Now, we've made lots of improvements in terms of how we're putting together our channel and our conversations. And you can see over in the left-hand side there, we've got a Teams tab that actually shows that this is connected to a team. We're also connecting directly into that file folder structure too. So you can see I've got a big banner up on the screen here to say this is connected to a channel inside of Microsoft Teams. So it's very clear to me that I've got files and my conversations, and I'm putting all of those things together in one place. So let's go and check out how it looks inside of Teams. When I go into Teams here, you can see that I've got my SharePoint news coming in. This is a great way to have that news feed that you just saw us connect and engage from our employees, and actually push that into having conversations inside of Teams as well. It's more relevant. So I can see all of that great content in here too. So it's a great way to source all that information. Now, when I go into the Files tab inside of Teams, you're going to see some upgrades in here too, so it's really cool to be able to see this. The first one I want to point out to you, Sync. Yay! So Sync is there. So for Mac and for Windows, Sync is always built into that file experience too. So having that available to my team wherever they are and whatever devices that they're using. I can also go into my pages that I created earlier. So these are my composite applications. I can put this up into full screen, and you can see it looks exactly the same way as I built it inside of SharePoint. And so here's that great information. I can go ahead and click into here. I can see all that files rendering on the side. Everything looks fantastic. So I'm having a great experience regardless of where I built it, but I can see that same content right here inside of Teams as well. Let me do a couple of other things. So let me click into this here. So here's that page where we had earlier, where there was a great long list of items. I can go ahead and say, hey, I want that customized view, and here it is again. Directly as the way we built it, and showing up inside of Teams as a full page application as well. So we're really delighted. Thank you. We're really delighted with everything that we've been able to do to put SharePoint and Teams closer together. And hopefully you can see that no two teams are the same, and you can build Teams and SharePoint to build the collaboration experience that's right for your group. Thank you so much. I'm going to bring Navjot Virk up to the stage now, and she's going to talk a little bit more about how you can manage and protect your organizational content.
Thank you, Naomi. Hello, everyone. So let's start with how we're making it easy for you to manage all the sites in your organization. Let's start with hub sites. So here I am in the site management page in the new SharePoint admin experience. I can now quickly filter my view to a hub. I'm looking at the sales hub. This is going to show me all the sites associated with this hub, and I can also see the hub site. Now, I want to see the external sharing setting for these sites, so I'm going to customize my view by adding the external sharing column. And now I see that the lead site currently does not have the right setting to share with external partners. So right from here, I'm going to change the external sharing setting. I'm going to allow external sharing and save. Now, it so happens that I manage these sites and this hub really often, so I'm going to save this customized view so I can reuse it later. So I'm going to give it a name. And done. So I can get back and get started again whenever I want by just using this view again. And it's pretty easy for me to associate any existing site. I'm actually going to clear my filters. I can take any site, and with just one click, I can turn that site into a hub site, or I can associate it with an existing hub. I know. And not just that, Contoso Electronics happens to be a large multinational organization, so we are using the new SharePoint multi-geo feature to store our data in different geolocations to meet our data residency needs. Earlier, this feature was only available for OneDrive, but now I can do this for my SharePoint data as well. And I can manage any of these sites by just clicking right here. Now here, I'm looking at the list of all the sites in my European location. So right here, EMEA tells me that I'm looking at the European location. I'm quickly going to search for all the sales-related sites. And you'll notice that the European sales site is associated with the sales hub, which is in North America. you can associate any site in any location with any hub in any location. And as a user, when I go to that hub, the hub is going to show me a roll-up of all the sites in that hub across all the locations. You can see I'm seeing some news from the European sales side and some news from the North American sales side. So using multi-geo, you can store your data in different locations, but your users can work seamlessly across the whole company, and you as an admin can manage all the sites across all the locations. Pretty cool, right? So the next thing I want to show you is how we're making it easy for you to manage your team sites. So for those of you who still have some data on on-premises servers, we're making it really easy for you to migrate your existing SharePoint sites, on-premises sites, to SharePoint Online. So here I'm looking at an on-premises site, and as you can see, there's a site, I have a little logo, I have documents in the site, I happen to have some subsites on the top, I also have some lists on this site, and I have a web page, actually, with a web part. Now, using the new SharePoint migration tool, I can easily migrate this site to SharePoint Online. All I have to do is give the URL of the site that I want to migrate, and then I have a choice. I can either include all the sites in that organization, on all the content of that site, or I can choose individual lists, libraries, pages, or web parts. In this case, I just want to migrate everything for that site. I hit Next. I'm OK with the tool automatically recreating the site structure in SharePoint Online. I hit Next, and that's it. This is going to create a migration task. Once the task is ready, all I have to do is hit on Migrate. I'm going to say Finalize Migration, and that's it. Done. Pretty simple, right? But now, let's see what this site looks like once it's migrated to SharePoint Online. So now I'm looking at this site in SharePoint Online. First thing you'll notice that the site is modern. It has the same logo. It has the same top nav, same left nav. My documents are right here. I actually also have my lists, which are also modernized. I have my page with the web part. The web part is already connected. And I also have my subsites and all the content of the subsites. So everything migrated quickly and easily. And it's pretty good. I know. You can clap. It's allowed. And now that this site is in SharePoint Online, you can actually connect it to a group. You can connect it to a team to make your users more productive. And not just that, you can apply the better security and compliance features available to you in SharePoint Online to this data. For example, we just introduced today the Microsoft Information Protection labels that allow you to apply consistent security and access policies based on sensitivity of data. So here I am in the new Microsoft 365 Security and Compliance Center, and you'll notice that I have 3 sensitivity labels: General, Confidential, and Top Secret. When I create a label, I can associate it with many different security and access policies. In this particular case, I have associated the Top Secret label with 2 kinds of policies. I want to make sure that any content that is marked Top Secret automatically gets a header, a footer, and a watermark. And I want that every group that is Top Secret is private, and any site that is Top Secret should not be accessible from an unmanaged device. Once I create these labels, admins and end users can use them in various experiences. So here I am managing some sites again, and I can see that the sales collateral, compete collateral site is currently marked with the general sensitivity label. This means that this site is accessible from all devices, managed and unmanaged. So here I am on a simulated unmanaged device. And as you can see, I can see the site, I can browse it, I can see the content. But now, if as an admin, I go back and change the label. So I'm going to simply change the label to Top Secret. I hit Save. Once the label is applied to the site, the associated policies automatically change. So I'm going to go back to the same site from my unmanaged device. I'm going to hit Refresh, and notice I no longer have access to that site. And all I did was change the label. Same labels are also available to end users. So here I am creating a team site, and you will notice that the sensitivity labels are right here. I have the same labels available here: General, Confidential, Top Secret. If I select Top Secret, automatically the privacy settings change to private. Not just that, I can apply same labels to documents as well. So here I am in Word editing a document. You'll see there's a drop-down right here. I see the labels, And if I mark this document as top secret, it automatically gets a header, it has a label, and it has a footer. All the user had to do was apply the label. So using the labels, you as an admin can apply consistent policies automatically to your ever-growing data, and the user can follow the rules of the organization without having to think too hard about security. Pretty cool, right? And with that, back to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Naomi, as well, for showing the end user part of that a little while ago. So to recap this section, first, the big thing we want to help people do is to be able to migrate their existing SharePoint sites from on-premises to the cloud, to collaborate on team content in SharePoint, as well as connect it to Microsoft Teams. Second is we want to help people connect and tailor and customize composite applications. Naomi showed mainly focused on web parts and some of the formatting customizations we've done, but there's a lot more you can do with Power Apps and Flow, and some of which we'll show in a little bit. And then, of course, migrate the on-prem sites. You can see I swapped those as I'm looking right to left as opposed to left to right. So we'll take a little bit of a break before the next set of demos, because I thought it would be great to get the perspective of a customer who's using our latest user experiences, communication sites, Microsoft Teams integration with Team sites, OneDrive, and a lot more. And so to introduce that section, let me tee up a video with WaveMaker, and then we'll bring up David for a conversation.
There was a decision made to merge Maxis and MEC, which were Group M agencies, into a new agency, which is now WaveMaker.
This included a program of rolling out and onboarding all staff onto Office 365. All of the Office 365 suite's designed for communication and collaboration in large-scale businesses like ours.
Our people begin their work by launching their work page, access to Teams, access to OneDrive, to the various SharePoint sites that they follow, are included in one very easily accessible page.
You start your work in a OneDrive. Once you're ready to share it with your team, then you put it on Teams, and then you collaborate there. You make sure that you have a chat about what works better, and then once you've done with it and you think that's ready to be shared, then you put it on SharePoint communication side, whether that's available to all of the company, and that just demonstrates what a brilliant piece of work we've done.
People are starting to deliver their work and collaborate with a bit of a spring in their step. They're just happier about doing it.
It's a lot easier to be GDPR compliant and making sure that it's all secure within our systems.
We're no longer emailing copies of content to each other. We're actually collaborating over single versions, across geographies, across teams, multiple people, at different times. Very, very powerful tool.
Great, thank you. Please join me in welcoming David Kaganowski to the stage. David, welcome to Ignite.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Wow.
So first, maybe tell us a little bit more about WaveMaker.
Absolutely. My guess is that most of the people in the room probably never heard of WaveMaker, but we actually impact you almost every day of your life. WaveMaker is part of Group M, which is part of WPP, the world's biggest advertising company. We're a media agency. And just to give you a sense of the scale, we've got, within WaveMaker, we've got 8,500 employees, 139 countries, and at the Group M level, 1 out of every 3 ads you see, print, digital, certainly on TV, we've had a hand in placing it there on behalf of our clients. So very much a people-oriented business, a technology-oriented business. We bring together content, technology, and media to help our clients move their marketing and ultimately their business programs forward.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us this week. I know one of the key foundations of what you're doing with Microsoft 365 is your Work Hub deployment. Could you tell us more about Work Hub?
Sure. So the Work Hub, and we've developed the Work Hub, really it's a product that we purchased through our partner, Add-in 365. We've used the Work Hub as a starting point. It's the place where we actually begin our day. And I'm very careful not to call it an intranet. Because, and genuinely, because what we say is this is a place to aggregate all the pieces of the ecosystem that we want our people to work in. This is where you access information about people, about teams, about your calendar, email, SharePoint, and all the other resources that we want to make sure are visible to our people. So it really is a place where we do work.
Great, makes sense. Talk to us a little bit. I know that Work Hub is built on SharePoint, but you're integrating OneDrive and Teams. What's those two technologies meant for your users?
Yeah, I've got to tell you, Jeff, number one, I will start with OneDrive and how important it really is to our enterprise. And I think it's almost, you can't overemphasize its importance in a modern environment where you want to be agile. So we've got to move away from keeping those files and those things, those artifacts that we keep on our hard drives and in file servers, where frankly, they are more difficult to access. They are more difficult to maintain, version control over, and we've got to move them into a cloud environment. And that's what we've done. And we've done that for nearly all of our employees, moved them into the use of OneDrive. That's really changed the dynamic. And, it's difficult. It's not always easy to get people away from attaching files. But as I like to remind everybody that I talk to who tells me that they're not comfortable with sending links, can't they just send an attachment? I remind them that my teenage kids would be appalled at the thought of sending an attachment. To them, it's a foreign language. Of course you would send a link, and I think we need to operate in that way. So that's OneDrive. And then Teams, well, Teams has been the workhorse. We really use it as a place to collaborate. We're trying to get as much of that conversation out of email, a place where we can create content, we can discuss, and those discussions, well, they're kept, they're referenceable, they're searchable, and from there we also can access all the resources available to us. So really a nice combination, a very good foundation that we're setting for changing the way we work. And it really is, the program we've launched, the thing that we're embarked upon is called the New Ways of Working, because we recognize the old ways, they just aren't good enough anymore.
Great. It's great to hear. And we're excited to hear how you're using OneDrive and Teams. One question though is, there's a danger as those technologies get broadly adopted that they can potentially create new information silos. And so what are the things that you're doing to make sure that communication can happen across the organization, not just in specific teams?
It's very important for us that now that we've got the ecosystem for creating content, that how do we share that? And we've really promoted the use of SharePoint communication sites. It's absolutely important. And what I would love about it, and what I love about the entire ecosystem, is that we're putting the power in the hands of the users themselves. This is not an IT thing.
Sure.
Creating, I mean, certainly look at the demos we just watched. I love those things, and so I can't wait to bring some of that new thinking into our environment, and just to continue to empower our employees to create, to communicate with each other, and then use the various channels that we have now available to them in the ecosystem to spread that information around. I think by giving people the power, that really democratizing, it's probably a completely overused term, but by democratizing this technology, we're actually empowering and eliminating those silos.
Great, that's great to hear. So one last question. You and I have both been involved in collaboration technologies for a while. Getting users to actually adopt them, even if the sort of benefits are clear, can be challenging. For all the folks who are joining us here this afternoon, what's your one big secret on how to get collaboration technologies adopted broadly?
So I'm not going to cut my beard until I have full adoption, which probably means I'm going to be down to here in a couple of years. No, I mean, it's hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
It's absolutely hand-to-hand combat. We've embarked on a program where we are personalizing this adoption. We are personalizing the acceptance. We're showing value and trying to show value very, very quickly. It's not about training courses or sending out, communications about, hey, come to a lunch and learn. We really are trying to avoid that and make it a very personal thing. Plus, our teams operate in a client-focused way, which means we can grab them and they're all topical. But as the example I like to always turn to is, it's like heavy-duty exercise. It's hard. You will bleed. You will potentially hurt yourself. But in the end, it's worth it. Because
it is good for me to go through that.
I would highly recommend it, because while it may be a little bit difficult when you're in the midst of it, when you come out the other end, I've got to tell you, I've had people come to me and they say, how do we live without this stuff?
Yeah.
How is it that we used to actually have a position, I don't know what it's called, but probably like chief, person who's updating his resume, which is the person responsible for taking 10 versions of a PowerPoint and then somehow trying to be clairvoyant enough about what is it everyone trying to do with their edits in order to bring together a version.
Yeah.
That is barbaric, and
Yes.
we've got to get away from that. And
Great.
when we show people that we can use these tools for that benefit, well, then I think that we get adoption.
That's terrific, and we'll wrap with that. David, thank you so much for joining us,
Absolutely.
sharing your best practices, and look forward to
Thank you
working
very much.
with you.
Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thank you, David. On to the next section. We're going to talk about file collaboration, OneDrive, the Office experience, and how we're bringing that forward for the kinds of collaboration that David talked about. But before we do that, I wanted to do something we've not done in one of these keynotes before, which is bring up the lead designer for the Office experience. Because we've heard from all of you, as David relayed a little bit, that while we're moving faster than ever in all these new technologies, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, Planner, et cetera, innovations in the Office experience and different platforms, that you want us to really think through the experience end to end, remove the seams, increase the consistency, to really deliver a solution that's both simple and powerful, that just works. You can clap at that, as long as you clap louder when you see the next little bit here. And so with that, I'm very excited to bring to the stage the head of Office Design, John Friedman. John?
The spectrum of work and ideas that Office supports is diverse beyond imagination. It's the inevitable output of a tool set used by over 1 billion people, coming from vastly different industries, disciplines, geographies, and generations. We're now making the power of Office even more accessible with a simplified design that uses intelligence to supercharge a wide range of expressions and workflows. Let's take a look. Last year, we unveiled Fluent, a simple and connected design system. We've been working hard ever since to expand Fluent to Office. And we've now aligned the entire suite on typography, color, iconography. In OneDrive and Outlook, as an example, you'll notice a shared header, the same grid everywhere, and added depth through shadows to focus on what matters. In this case, we're showing file preview. If Fluent removes what's not needed through a simpler interface, Microsoft Search delivers what is needed via powerful intelligence. Microsoft Search is prominently and consistently displayed in every Office 365 app. The simple act of putting the cursor in the search bar intelligently surfaces relevant apps, content, people, and much, much more. Our redesigned start pages are also smart. They organize files by frequency and activity instead of date and size. On a mobile phone, let's be honest, we only have seconds, not minutes, to accomplish a task. Microsoft Search is custom designed to be great on the go. In Outlook and on SharePoint, it's just one tap away from the flight you need to catch or the file you need to catch up on. That's just the beginning. We wanted to go one step further and design a system that had the potential to truly keep people in their flow. We call it Ideas, and the best way to experience it is live and in action. So I'm going to do something I've never done before and demo code. I'm going to change roles now. I'm now a demoer instead of a presenter, and let's get started with PowerPoint. Okay, so this deck kind of sucks. It's pretty lame. I could probably do a lot better. Let's say we're presenting this thing tomorrow, and a bunch of us have been working on it. Let's see if Ideas can help me do something a little bit nicer. So I click on Ideas up in the top corner, and it gives me some proactive suggestions of things I could do. One of the things it does is it pulls information from Bing that's relevant to the content that's on my slide. So let's see if there's any delicious confections that Bing can pull forward. Here we go. I get a bunch of nice images. I love macarons. I'm going to choose this one, especially rainbow-colored ones. And immediately, Ideas gives me a bunch of options to make my slide nicer. I like the top one. The cropped photo looks cool to me, so I'm going to select that one, and it changes my slide automatically. On the second slide, I've got different kinds of content, and so I get different proactive suggestions from Ideas. You'll see a grammar check here, checking for consistency. I see that I've got a bunch of punctuation issues. If I click on that, it'll remove them and clean it all up. When you're working with a bunch of people, oftentimes people type things differently. Yeah, you can clap. It's cool. It's cool. When you're working with a bunch of people, people input different things. And it's great to collaborate and move really fast. In the end, you can clean it up with just one click. Now, you'll notice that this is a timeline. And of course, Ideas notices that and gives me all sorts of options, including layouts of the timeline. I like this first one, so I'm going to click on it. It matches the previous slide and makes my deck look nicer. But what it does is really interesting. It goes and gets a bunch of icons that actually pull from the content itself and are relevant and make sense. I just did, in less than a minute, what would have taken me as a designer significantly longer to do. And I could get through this deck in another minute if I wanted to. Okay. So, of course, we love Office everywhere and are bringing all sorts of these capabilities to our native Windows experience. Now, I'm going to show you something we haven't shared publicly at Ignite yet. It's exciting. It's the new Office app. It's a great place to start. It's just like Office.com. It organizes all of my content by activity. And so I've been working on a deck with a bunch of people, and I can see it right here. And I click on it, and of course it launches the Windows app. Everything you've seen so far has been in the web and on mobile. I have Microsoft Search at top, and I'm going to dangerously click on it since I haven't in this demo before, and you can see that it's giving me that zero query that I talked about. But that's not what I'm interested. I'm not great with data. I look at a spreadsheet like this, and I glaze over really quickly. Like I said, I'm a designer, and this is not my sweet spot. But this is true for many people, and so let's see if Ideas can help me reason over a bunch of data. Okay, so here we go. I've got a bunch of insights showing up on this huge set of data. I see our coffee sales have been increasing over time. I can click and see some more. And it looks like sales and ratings are not surprisingly correlated, but there are two outliers. This is pretty cool. I can share this with people. We can look at the data. We can understand what's going on. And I can insert any of these charts directly into the Excel spreadsheet. So I'll click on that. It throws it in. It's just like any other Excel object. I can do anything that I need with it from there. Ideas is designed to help. It's cool. Ideas is designed to help me work faster, and no matter my expertise, in the end, I look like a pro. right, I'm switching back now. I guess I should button my jacket. It's my pro switch move. Design is an iterative cycle, and even a huge milestone like today's marks the start of the journey's next leg. We want you and your coworkers, family, friends, neighbors, people you barely know on Instagram, your pets, to be part of the journey as you continue to use Office to do your best work. Thank you.
Thanks, John. And the video that John showed, as well as some inside behind the scenes, will be published from John and the team on Medium, actually. We've got a design blog going up today that we're really excited to share in terms of the work we're doing across the suite. So now let's build on that foundation of a common end-to-end user experience with the work we're doing in file collaboration. One of the things we do get asked is, as we weave this files experience across the suite in Office and Teams, SharePoint, etc., how do I get started? You know, how could I see all the files? And we want to be emphatically clear that the one place you can work with all your files is OneDrive. And you'll see in a moment that we're bringing all the capabilities, metadata, workflow, etc., from SharePoint to be viewed in a common files experience. And again, that simple one place to work with all your files will be OneDrive. And so to show you what we're doing with file collaboration across OneDrive and Office and all of the rest of Microsoft 365, I am very excited to bring up Omar Shaheen.
Don't worry, there are only 2 more hours of demos. All right, so OneDrive makes it easy to get back to all my files in Office 365. My personal files, as well as my shared files that I work in across SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, and Outlook. As John mentioned, we've recently applied the Fluent design language to OneDrive, and really enhancing the experience and simplifying it. But we have a lot of powerful capabilities in OneDrive. And one of the features I'm pleased to announce is that we now have support for full document library capabilities directly in the OneDrive experience. As you can see here, I have metadata, custom columns, and formatting. It makes it really simple for me to access all of my files from one place without having to go and visit any other sites. In addition to that, we have a new AI-powered view of recommended files. This is powered by the Microsoft Graph and uses information such as who I'm collaborating with, as well as activity on files, to recommend documents I might want to open first. You can see these across the top. But OneDrive is also a place where we've brought in rich previews from over 300 different file types. As you can see here, I have a 3D rendering, which I can go ahead and manipulate. But we want to make it possible to collaborate on all these files. And so we're proud to introduce a new feature that lets me comment on any file in OneDrive. In this case, I can go ahead and reply back to my colleague. And when I do that, hit send, they'll get a notification letting them know that I collaborated on one of their files. We've also added some new sharing features that are popular requests. I'm going to go ahead here and share this file externally. We've added 2 new features. One of them is the ability to block downloads on an individual file. And the second is the ability to add a password, giving you even more flexibility when you want to externally share files outside your organization. So now that I have a link, let me go ahead and copy that, paste it in here. And you'll see that I'm prompted to enter a password. And after doing that, you'll notice a yellow bar at the top that says I don't have permission to download or print this file. I can't even copy content out of this document. We've also added many, many other features of OneDrive, but I'm going to highlight one of my favorite features right now. Let's say you happen to come across some cute images like this. I want to go ahead and save this image. Previously, this would be a lot of work for me to do, but now we can just go ahead into this folder. Looks like I've already saved some images earlier. I can go ahead and hit paste, and we're now creating a version of that photo from my clipboard right in my OneDrive without having to upload or download any content. That feature will also work for text files. Now let's do some serious work. I'm going to go ahead and open up a PowerPoint presentation. My colleague Alex has been working on this file, and now when I launch a PowerPoint presentation where someone else has made changes, PowerPoint's going to notify me up here in the corner and tell me that my colleague made changes since the last time I looked at it. But PowerPoint will also show me a couple of details here. As you can see, this slide is highlighted. When I go ahead and select it, you can see the sections of the document that were changed since the last time I viewed this file. And it says it has unread changes here, here, and here, which makes it really easy for me to figure out what's happened. But we've added another great feature, which is the ability to @mention somebody in a document. So in this case, I want to invite my colleague, Lydia, into the document to make some changes to this slide. So I'm going to just say, please change. When I hit send, you'll notice I actually get notified to share, because in this case, she doesn't have access to this document yet. And so with one simple click, she'll be given access and notified that she's been @mentioned in this document, making it really easy for me to pull her in. Now, part of the magic of OneDrive is it makes it easy for you to access your files on any device and increasingly embedded in many experiences. And today, I'm really, really excited to announce a new feature we're bringing to the Mac, which is Files on Demand. Last year at Ignite, we announced Files on Demand for Windows 10, and it's become one of our most popular features. We're really excited to bring this to Mac OS X Mojave, which was announced and released today by Apple. And so if you want to install this, you can go ahead and do so today. But here I am in my Mac Finder, and you can see this is my OneDrive. You can see all my files. None of these files have been downloaded to my computer except for the ones that show green check marks. I have simple commands here that I can go ahead and always keep something on this device. But the beauty of this feature is that all these files are available to me without taking up any space. So if I go ahead here and select this folder that contains a team site I'm syncing, you can see that this folder takes up 4.1 terabytes of space in SharePoint. I don't have 4.1 terabytes of space on this computer, but I do want to be able to access and browse all these files. And I can do that here. And anything I want to access, I can permanently make available offline, say if I want to access on a plane. And the other benefit is if my colleagues are working on these files, none of that is being downloaded to my computer if I don't need access to those documents, saving me a lot of bandwidth. And then finally, we bring all the rich previews and capabilities you see in OneDrive today directly into the Finder. And you can see a bunch of different file types here where I can now see all the previews for those files. And so we hope you go and try this feature, and we're really, really excited to bring it to our customers who love their Macs. All right, I'm going to switch over to my phone and show you two other quick examples of how we're bringing the OneDrive experience to other applications. So here I am in Outlook, which a lot of people use, and I know many of you use email day in and day out. Now when you go to attach a file in Outlook, we're bringing in a OneDrive-powered experience that shows you your recent files, as well as all the files in your OneDrive, as well as all the files in your team sites, teams, or Outlook groups, making it super easy for you to go in here and say, select something from a document library. And just as simple as that, we're going to insert a link into Outlook that's going to work for the recipients. And thank you. And then finally, many users have asked for this feature in the SharePoint mobile app, which is the ability to browse document libraries without having to leave that app. And we're excited to announce we're bringing that feature to the SharePoint mobile app. As you can see here, I can browse all the files in this document library, as well as any other team site that I want to access on the SharePoint mobile app. And we're really excited about that as well. But many of you want to know how to take advantage of these features and how to deploy them in your organizations. And so for that, I'm going to invite my colleague, Navjot, back on stage to demonstrate to you how you can deploy OneDrive in your organization and take advantage of all these awesome features.
Thank you, Omar. So now let's look at how we're making it easy for you to protect your files. So many of you probably still have a lot of users who like to store all of their data in the local documents folder on Windows, like I'm doing right here. Here's all these documents in my local documents folder. Now, we know old habits are really hard to break, but this is a really dangerous thing. Because if the user loses that device, it gets lost, stolen, or damaged, you could lose the only copy of this valuable business data. So to help you with that, you can now use the OneDrive known folder move feature to help automatically and seamlessly sync the local documents, photos, and desktop to OneDrive. So you can set a group policy to do this. You can do it either silently on behalf of the user, or you can prompt the user to opt in, like I'm going to show you here. So my admin sets the policy. After the policy is set, the user gets a prompt which says your IT department wants to protect your important folders. The user can choose which folders to protect. In my case, I'm just going to pick documents because it so happens that that's where I store all my data. And I say start protection. What this does is, in the background, it is automatically going to start syncing my local documents folder with OneDrive. So now if I go back to the same local documents folder, you will see that it has these little check marks are telling me these files already synced in the cloud. The rest are still syncing. And I'm still in the local documents folder. So my files have automatically made it to OneDrive. So now they're safe, they're protected, and I didn't even have to change the way I work. I can continue to use the local folders just like I did before. And not just that, your data is now safe in the cloud and your users can access it from anywhere. But this data now is also being protected by the security and compliance settings that you have set in OneDrive in the cloud. So I'm going to open this file, which is in my local documents folder. And now because this file is in OneDrive, DLP is going to run on this file. And it figures out this file actually contains some sensitive information. It actually has some social security numbers. So the file is now marked sensitive, and my access is restricted. So not only is your data safe in OneDrive, now it's also compliant. Pretty cool, yeah? And finally, the last thing I want to show you is how we're making it easy for you to protect your files in document libraries. So here I am. So what's happened is I'm working with a colleague of mine, Sasha, and he's just sent me an email saying that one of his machines got hit with ransomware. And looks like it has renamed all the files in this team site that the two of us are collaborating on. Now, I happen to be the site administrator, so he's wondering if I can help him. So here I am looking at the document library. And for sure, as you can see, all the files have been renamed to .WannaCry, and all these changes came from Sasha. But don't worry. Just like with OneDrive, I can now go to the Files Restore page for a document library. Yes, I know, about time. And I can roll back my document library to any point in time in last 30 days. So I'm going to just go here, find all the changes that were made by Sasha. And once I find the right exact time that I want to roll back, I'm going to select that time. And then I will simply roll back all the changes that he made. I'm going to hit restore. It's going to say confirm, yes, I want to restore, and that's it. In less than a minute, I'll be able to recover all the files, making me the hero that saved the day. Now, who doesn't want to be a hero? Okay, back to you, Jeff.
We're done. All right, to go ahead and get started, the three things we want to emphasize here. First, store your content in Office 365. This is where you're going to get the best collaboration, intelligence, and as you saw, security experience. Use OneDrive across all your devices. As Omar showed, we're making the web experience, the Mac experience, the PC experience, mobile experience, richer and richer, simpler and simpler to make it easy to work with all your files anywhere. And then lastly, we really want to emphasize for all these collaboration capabilities that are coming to the Office client, and we showed app mentions and the while you are away feature is just one. Those come when you're getting the cloud version of Office, either in the browser, the Mac, or the PC. So go deploy Office 365 Pro Plus to get these rich contextual collaboration capabilities. All right. I promised we'd need our sleeping bags. Maybe I should send out for pizza. But we do have one more set of demos. So, and they're really good. So we'll go ahead and, we've been going so long, the battery on the clicker looks like it died. So maybe I can get help from the back. All right. Well, what you would have seen. I'll go ahead and get started talking about it because we do have more that we want to show. So one of the themes that Satya talked about that is transformative is artificial intelligence. John talked about it in search and in the ideas feature, but it's impacting the user experience and the developer solutions of Microsoft 365 much more profoundly. We're using AI not just to do marketing hype, but genuinely because it will make the user experience simpler and it'll make it easier to construct intelligent business solutions faster than ever. So to show some of the latest work that's coming around AI powering content collaboration, I am very excited to bring up our last MRO, CJ Tan. CJ.
So I'm going to tell you a story from a bakery that's building its brand to have the most delightful shopping experience. So Jordan is responsible for making sure that all of the locations of this bakery carry the right products and display them in the right way. So here's the library that he works on with his team. And you can see there's a lot of material here, and he needs to decide and prioritize what he's going to read. So he hovers over a file, and immediately a card appears. And this card is going to display insights on this document. And these insights are generated using Microsoft AI. Here we go. Back to the card. Now you'll see there's going to be the number of viewers on the file itself, as well as a new section called Inside Look. An Inside Look shows you the average reading time and this great section called Key Points, which is actually selecting sentences or phrases from that document so you know what it's about when you open, even before you open it. So Jordan has the information he needs to decide whether or not this is worth reading. Now we know that video is really common right now to share information. So Jordan's created the September newsletter. And this newsletter is going to share with his audience to this month's featured product. And that's going to be...
Welcome to September's video newsletter. This month's featured...
It's going to be the party cupcake. Now, a transcript was actually automatically generated for this video. And we recognize that artificial intelligence is not perfect. So you can edit and clean up this transcript as needed. Now, this combination between AI and human verification is really powerful. And this allows you to collaborate in new ways with your team on video content before you publish this much more broadly on stream. So now, let's have a look at what the first-line employees at the bakery, like Joanna, do to find the featured product of the month. They're going to go to their SharePoint app, and as you can see, it's got a fresh new look that lands you right on the Find tab. We've got the quick access section that gets me back to the last news, person, or file that I worked on. And here we have frequent sites, which is powered by the Microsoft Graph. And it shows me sites that I'm likely to open based on how I work and who I communicate with. Here we have a list of people that's also powered by the Microsoft Graph. And then these are all the files that I've opened recently or have been working on. But let's jump back up to the search box. As you can see, even before I type, I've got a set of suggestions that are actually personalized to me. It shows me the last items that I've searched, as well as 3 top popular search terms across my company. And what's great about this is I'm out looking for the featured product, and now I don't have to type on this tiny keyboard to get the results. So we continuously improve search using AI and the graph to return the most relevant and most personalized results for me. You'll notice that this top video is that September newsletter. Now, this is possible because that transcript I showed you earlier is indexed, and that means that we can now find a video based on its content and not just its file name. So now that Joanna knows what she needs to do to set up her display, she's done that. And the last thing she needs to do is confirm with Jordan that she's completed the task. So I'm going to use the capture capabilities on the OneDrive app to do just that. So I'm here in the North America site, and I'm going to just tap on the retail stores display. Now you can see that the scan button is prominently displayed right where my thumb can reach it in the bottom right. And now I'm going to take a photo of this stand-in that I have here. Whoops. Let's make sure that this is plugged in. Stand-in that's here of Joanna's display. Now, metadata plays a critical role in understanding your content. It drives workflow, and it also helps you organize your knowledge. So that's why you can now enter metadata while you upload that photo. And this metadata is all coming from the library that you're uploading to. So we've got a display type here where I'll select the primary display and the weeks on display that I'll just enter. So now I'm going to just update the default file name and save. And Joanna's work is done. Thanks. Next, it's now up to Jordan to take a look at all of the photos that he's getting in from all the different bakeries and decide whether or not there's a cupcake in that photo. And if there isn't a cupcake, he needs to send an email and let that person know that they need to redo their display. So if your eyes were keen when I took that photo, you probably noticed that there were muffins in the photo and not cupcakes. So let's have a look and see what Joanna received. And you'll see she got a notification for an email almost right away, and Jordan Miller has told her that her primary display is missing party cupcakes. So now she's got the information she needs to fix up her display and send another confirmation. So it is possible that Jordan actually went through and, looked at each photo, but it's not really a good use of his time. So instead, he's used Flow and an Azure Cognitive Services custom model to help him. So here you see, there's the photo that I captured of the display. And I'm going to draw your attention to the cupcake meter column. So this column is populated by a flow that Jordan built. You can see that it executes when the file is uploaded. And here we have where he set up the model that he trained to actually detect these cupcakes. Now, the model actually returns a score between 0 and 1, and the closer that score is to 1, the more likely there's a cupcake in the photo. So he uses this condition to decide whether or not he needs to send an email that contains some of the custom metadata to the person that sent that email, or submitted that photo originally. So in a way, he actually was able to look at every single photo that came in, but he did it much more intelligently, and he didn't even have to write a single line of code. So to recap, insights are extracted automatically from your content when it's in OneDrive and SharePoint. And we do this on your behalf so you can find what you're looking for and focus on the things that are important. And when you combine these insights with your custom metadata and Azure Cognitive Services through Flow, you can quickly enable workflows that improve your productivity. Thank you.
All right, just to recap there, find what you're looking for with Microsoft Search. As hopefully you'll read in the blog post today, a lot of search and AI capabilities coming together in a consistent experience across the Microsoft apps. You can use the AI, as CJ showed. We've taunted you with kittens and cupcakes, my goodness. How cute can a SharePoint conference get? With Microsoft AI. And we're really excited about the list and library and metadata capabilities interacting with Flow and cognitive services to build the solutions that we can't even imagine but are top of mind for you addressing your business needs. So I'm going to wrap with a couple of more slides and then we'll let you go. First, I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that we continue to be committed to on-premises. While the best experience the best economics, the best security comes from the Microsoft Cloud in Office 365. We've taken a subset of the SharePoint capabilities and delivered them in a server product. And we're very excited that next month in October, with the rest of the productivity servers and the Office apps, those will become generally available. And as much as we're leaning into the cloud, I am personally very proud of this server release. It's the best one we've done. It includes support for the new Sync client and files on demand. The new Teams, the new team site and communication site UI. And even more simplicity in giving you flexible approaches to get to the cloud with hybrid in a way that matches your organizational needs. But SharePoint Server is not the only way we're trying to make migration to the cloud simple. We've got 3 core investments. Navjot showed the SharePoint self-service migration tool for team sites and file servers for on-prem to cloud migration. The Fast Track team is rolling out new benefits for employee engagement as well as IT governance plans. And then we've got incredible partners here at Ignite with a host of advanced migration services, governance services, custom apps, user training, much more. The SharePoint ecosystem is here to help you on your cloud journey. All right, we will wrap with thank you so much for making this the biggest year in the history of SharePoint. We feel a deep responsibility to all of you to make the next year even bigger. Come to the breakout sessions. You think this ran long? We didn't show 5% of the things that we're going to show the rest of this week, and so we'd love for you to see them. Come visit us in the booth, say hi, give us feedback. We'd love to talk to you. And again, I'll do the shameless plug. If you like what you see, hashtag SharePoint. Thank you so much. I'll put up the URLs for the blog, for the community, and also, if you've not had enough, next May, Las Vegas. I hope to see you there. Thank you.